Hey guys, Taki here. Bit of a different video today, but I have some important things to discuss that involves everything that's on this table in some shape or form. By the way, this video is not monetized. I don't talk about this often, but there were two main reasons why I started this channel almost 5 years ago. After my son was born, I wanted to buy a handheld to be able to kill time whenever I would put him down for a nap while still being able to be close to him on the off chance that he would wake up. I did some research and bought something based on some reviews that I watched before finding out that it had some big issues that were never talked about. A week or so after that, Ambernic was about to release the RG350, and I ended up getting that device to do a review video on. That video allowed this channel to get monetized, and since I already had a job, I decided to direct all of the AdSense revenue from this channel to a college fund for my son so he would be fine if something ever ended up happening to me. He's a little older now, so I get to involve him more here and there in some videos, and you might have seen that, but the main goal has always been to be a source of information that I didn't have when I wanted to buy my first device. For 2 to 3 years, I would basically review every single device that came out while balancing 2 full-time jobs, and the truth is, I got burnt out around the RK3326 saga. There were way too many devices that had very little difference, and they weren't really that fun to review. After that, I started to be more selective about the devices that I would film review videos on, and I started to see more and more people get disappointed that I did not cover something that they wanted me to. To be honest, those people are right to be disappointed. Even I'm disappointed. When I pick a product that I want to review, there are a lot of things that I weigh. I want to give you a few examples so you can fully understand why I feel things need a change going forward. For the first 2 years of this channel, I had the ability to get Ambernic handhelds before the official release, so I could release a review video on launch day. The company hasn't given me units like that since the RG552, and they also have changed their policy on when review videos can go up. Reviewers are now able to release videos well in advance of the official release date, let alone official pricing, but it doesn't really matter. I still buy every handheld that they make, and I have released plenty of review videos on products after others using retail units that I buy that I also enjoy using. When the RG405M came out, I bought one from the retail release, and I plan on doing a review video on it. By the time I had this thing in my hands, there were many glowing reviews on it and the screen that it uses. When I got it, I was shocked to find that the screen was overly sharpened to the point that all of the retro games that I would want to play looked like garbage. What's more, my screen started to fall out from the shell. So at that point, I was facing another RG552 situation where I would have an almost entirely different opinion than the rest of the crowd. And I have to say, I'm not against doing that as a rule, but I have to be interested enough in the device to follow through. When it comes to the RG405M, I wasn't interested in enough, so I never did my review presenting the counterpoint. Please note the over-sharpened display issue has been fixed by now, but it existed on all pre-release devices that were used for review videos and all of the initial retail units like the one that I have here. It was fixed months later with Gamma OS. I took a different approach for my RP4 video. That device also has a screen issue, but I was interested in the device enough to make the review video for it. I detailed exactly what the problem was, explained that it could be fixed, and then talked about some of the consequences of that fix. That's the approach that I like. But it doesn't work if I don't do a review video in the first place. The video that I'm currently working on caused me to completely reevaluate the way that I've been doing this. I'm making a buying guide right now covering several handhelds. These kinds of videos are great because it allows me to cover some devices that I didn't film individual videos on. I did one of these last year, and the RG35XX Plus was a solid choice. The RG35XXH came out a little after I did that video, and I ended up buying 2 of them that have been sitting on my desk since day one. I planned to do a review video with my retail version, but I was too busy at that time and I didn't expect there to be any surprises since it's basically the RG35XX Plus in a different layout, and the reviews were mostly positive. I was wrong. Not that long ago, I opened up the box and took the unit out, and I started creating some save states that I needed for my video. While doing that, I started to see that the screen had stuttering or frame pacing issues. I powered up my second unit and found the same thing. It's possible that this was an issue on the launch software that was later fixed in an update. You can say a lot about Ambernic and a lot of these other companies, but Ambernic does update their devices. They didn't always do that in the past. I downloaded the latest update that they had on their website, and I found that it also had the same problem. The display was also set to be very close to 59 Hz, which doesn't make sense. At that point, I assumed the RG35XX Plus and the RG35XXH were the same in terms of software, so I was kind of mad at myself that I missed something this obvious in my main review of the Plus and the subsequent buying guide that I made. If I'm to be this selective about what I film, I don't want to mislead people. I went into my studio, grabbed the 3+ units that I had, and tried to turn them on. For whatever reason, the OS was corrupted on all of them. No problem, I'll just download the earliest update package that Anbernic has on their website. I got that, flashed it, and found the same issue. At that point, I was very disappointed in myself for not catching this issue. I grabbed the current software version for that handheld, flashed it, and found the same issue again. I then went ahead and tried 2 third-party OSs that both run at 60 Hz no matter the handheld. One of them doesn't have this issue at all, and the other only has it if you disable the default shader that is always on. I reached out to one of the developers of these, and he put me in contact with another guy that discovered this issue a long time ago on his own. Thankfully, that guy had a retail build of the RG35XX Plus backed up on his PC, and he gave it to me. I tested that out to see if I had missed this in my main review, and I was relieved to find out that the stock build did not have this stuttering issue. Long story short, Anbernic introduced this issue with the RG35XX Plus in January, and it's been there ever since. The RG35XXH launched with this issue, and it's been there ever since. The third-party OS that has this fixed ended up fixing it last month for both devices. There are 2 important realizations that I took away from this. 1, companies need to know when their devices have problems. If people like me that have a platform do not make these issues known, companies have very little chance to ever learn about them to even start addressing them. It's not good for the company, and it's not good for the consumer. And for the record, I fully believe this issue would have been fixed by now if Anbernic knew about it months ago. The second realization is that my old approach of being selective about what I film and review doesn't work. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. I assume this device was fine based on my experience with the RG35XX Plus. I assume others would have made the same assessment since they are so similar, but they launched with a completely different experience. The Plus was better. Using the current stock software, the Plus is now just as bad as the H. If I have a device before it launches, this approach looks a little different, and I want to talk about the MIUI A30 because that has also changed how I will do things going forward. I had this a few weeks before it went on sale, and I made a community post about this in the RG28XX because I think they are both awesome devices. By the way, the 28XX does not have the stuttering issue that the H and the Plus have. Anyway, I found the performance in the A30 was crap within seconds of using it. Right away, I found that they had enabled a display filter that on its own is not a bad thing. The problem is the device is set to use different CPU frequency limits depending on the system that you want to emulate. In the case of Super Nintendo, the limit is not enough to be able to run the game with the filter enabled. After I disabled that, I found that there were no performance issues. Okay, we have an easy fix. Disable the default shader in the stock OS. For something like this, where I have something in my hands prior to an official release, I will also bring it to their attention at the first moment so they can fix it prior to the official release. To Anbernic's credit, they were very good about pulling handheld releases when major issues were found on engineering units that they gave out. The RG552 was delayed 1 time before it released, and the only reason why it wasn't delayed a second time for the audio issue that I pointed out in my video was because I couldn't get anyone in their company to notice the huge audio delay that it had. Anyway, I went to the engineer of the A30 and I was told that these kinds of settings were done by some community tester that MIUI uses. I then went directly to MIUI to tell them to just disable this to fix the issue. They said they would disable it. At that time, distributors that had engineering units from MIUI started to send them out to other reviewers, and those reviewers obviously found the same issue that existed in that software. Whatever, it's an engineering unit, it only matters if these issues exist with the launch software. When I made my post about the A30, I did so believing that MIUI would disable this dumb setting like they told me they would do. But no matter what, I plan to say that this setting was enabled by default in my review and that I had to disable it to improve performance to film the review video. That's my personal approach. I don't see any value in trying to approach product reviews as a novice. It's like the blind leading the blind. It comes across as disingenuous when it's done, and I've never seen it done consistently in any field. So I described several cases in this video from 3 different companies, and they have all factored into the way that I am now going to approach review videos. In a perfect world, I would have reviews up for everything that launches, and if a product has fixable issues, they would be fixed prior to the product launch. The reality is time is a constraint, and I won't always be able to review everything that releases, even if I find them interesting. In situations where I know I won't do a review video on something that I have, or that I can't do a proper review video on it for whatever reason, I want to publish a short, objective list of things that I will grade either with a pass or a fail. This shouldn't have any subjective elements to it, and I'm still deciding on what I should include, but I can give you an example of what I'm thinking based on the issues that I talked about in this video. One category could be stuttering or VSync issues. The initial retail version of the RG35XX Plus would have a pass for that, but the current software version would have a fail. And in situations where a device fails in a category, I can provide a short explanation. Again, just objective things. These are things that people could repeat on their own. The RG35XXH would have a fail for this for every stock software version, but it would have a pass for the third-party OSs. For the MIUI A30, one category could be unusual stock performance issues. The A30 would have a fail for that, and the explanation would be that the CPU filter is enabled by default. Disabling that fixes the issue. The initial version of the RP4 would fail for display calibration, but the current software version would have a pass. These are things that I would cover in a full review video along with my other opinions, but in the absence of that video and that vehicle, I would publish objective categories with either pass or fail. By doing this, I hope I can provide all of you with more information to make informed decisions one way or the other. But as always, you can let me know your thoughts about this change down below. Viewer comments are the main guiding force for this channel. And as a side, I brought the stuttering issues that I talked about in this video to Ambernick's attention weeks before I published this video. This wasn't meant to bring negative attention to any company that I talked about in this video. I just needed to show some examples that made me change the way that I will do things on this channel. Thank you all for your continued support. Happy gaming, everyone. Taki out.